This is Marketing Uncomplicated. All right, everybody, welcome back. I have Andy Seeley, who is the CEO and co-owner of Creatively Disruptive and Ashworth Strategy, two leading agencies specializing in marketing solution for kids, activity centers, service-based businesses, and e-commerce brands. I love the kids' activity centers, and I can't wait to dig into that. A pioneer in high conversion strategies and automation, Andy is the creator of Kai, and we'll get into that, which is an AI-powered CRM that transforms lead management and business growth. As a sought after speaker and author, he shares actionable insights with entrepreneurs, helping them scale their ventures and maximize profits. Originally from New Zealand, you'll hear that in his accent, Andy brings a global perspective and a passion for innovation to his work, inspiring others with his energy, humor, and expertise. Welcome to the show, Andy. We're so grateful to have
Wow,
you.
that was a really nice introduction. Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you so much. So, I want to dig in a little bit. You've built not just one, but two successful agencies. You know, you're also an author and a speaker. Let's rewind. What was the spark that got you into marketing in the first place?
Well, I've always been in the sales realm. The first job that I ever had in the United States, real job, because my first job in the United States was pizza delivery, funnily enough, way back in the day in my
Yeah.
20s. Funnily enough, I still think of that job as one of my favorite jobs, is delivering pizza for some
Yeah.
reason. But
Maybe
my
because
first
of all the people that you met when you were like, your pizza's here.
Yeah, and you're fighting through, and it was in Chicago, so I'd be fighting through all sorts of winter and weather
Oof.
and summer, and listening to baseball, driving around, and it was a nice neighborhood too. So I lucked out there. But
Yeah.
my first real job was in sales. I was a sales manager and opened stores for CarMax, the auto superstore. Worked with them for about 5 years, opening up stores around the world, around the country. That was back when they were owned by Circuit City.
Gosh, I
And
remember Circuit City.
yeah, Circuit City ended up
Yeah.
going out of business, and CarMax survived. So that was my first job. So I was always in sales and sales management. And then my wife she was always a gymnastics coach, and she worked for some pretty high level gymnastics coaches in Chicago. And she'd always wanted to own her own gym. So we bought a gym in Tahoe, Lake
Okay.
Tahoe, and we moved out there. And I was getting sick of going around the country opening CarMax stores, and wanted something different. So we went out there, opened that up. I got a job with a TV station, a local TV station, as a sales director. I managed a team of salespeople, selling ads and selling, TV ads and cable stuff and things like that. Then I decided to do my own stuff, and started a publishing firm, media and publishing firm, where we used to video, um, activities, things to do, places to eat, and so forth. You know, those in-room magazines that you can find when you stay in hotels, and you
Yep.
go to a channel, and there's like it looks like a local TV channel, but it's really just it's an
Yes.
advertising
Ad
network.
Central.
So we
Yeah.
ran one of those for a little while. And it was really cool, working with small businesses, especially in the tourism business. But it was very local focused, and we couldn't really work anywhere else. We got hit by the Great Recession, of 2008, 2009 through 2011 or whatever, which really did affect the gym badly, to the point where we no longer made any money, and my wife worked free and was working 60 hours a week and not making any money
Yeah.
during a 3-year period. We ended up selling that business, and the tourism marketing business expanded into multiple cities. We had kind of like franchisees in multiple towns. We expanded into San Diego personally, and built that up, and then we sold it all in 2015. Um, what reason why we sold that was that my cousin, who's the other co-founder, and really the technical guy of the company, Russell Masters, came to me and said, "Hey, why don't we join forces, and let's help small businesses across the country." He's in New Zealand. I
Okay.
live in America, so two New Zealanders wanting to help American businesses.
Yeah.
And we both came from the point of view of being beaten up and smashed around by economic, I guess, things that happen in the economy that has nothing to do with us, right? So we'd been hurt pretty badly financially, personally, and businesses struggling and so forth. And one of the things that we both independently shared with one another was the struggle of being by yourself when things are tough. Um, that 3 a.m. in the morning, staring at the ceiling and not going back to sleep, worrying about how you're going to get through the next day. And we vowed that we wanted to create a company that would be a company that people would reach out to when they got up at 6:30 in the morning, right? So we're not going to stop people from staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can give them some solace that they'll have somebody to get in the trenches with them and help them, because as a small business owner going through those tough times, it was frightening and it was scary and it was stressful and difficult. And it means a lot to us as a company to be able to have a lot of weapons to our, or little bows to our string, or whatever we want to call it, to tackle a lot of these problems that these small businesses have. And my business partner was much more of the digital marketer. Well, I keep knocking my camera there. My business partner is much more of the digital marketer. I was more of the sales and messaging and advertising guy. And we were like, okay, let's get onto this. So we started Creatively Disruptive as an agency that, yes, we do build websites. Yes, we do ad campaigns using the different platforms and so forth. But we wanted to do it differently from the point of view that we would be also a supportive agency where we actually spoke about good business practices, gave advice, collected data from our other agents, our other clients, and shared that information, and shared that data, which is why we really wanted to focus on some specific niches so that data was transferable, right? So, and what we found, in all honesty, Sasha, was that, at the beginning we were like, okay, kids activity centers, we probably want to focus on a niche like that because then there's relevancy between the things that we're sharing. But what we found is that almost all business owners have those same concerns and issues, and even business managers, even of large multi-million dollar organizations, have similar issues. And I would hazard to guess, not that I've dealt with a lot of multi-billion dollar companies, but I would imagine that the ones that get themselves in trouble probably are getting themselves in trouble with similar issues that even the small guys get themselves in trouble with. And so whilst we do run really good ad campaigns, while we do, I think, a really good job of driving business to people and having some thought and being able to unveil that, what feels like a mystery to many small businesses, we do a lot of, why are we doing this? What is your ultimate goal? What's your exit strategy? How much, what house do you want to be living in 3 years' time? That's literally a question when we onboard clients and when we're trying to figure out goals. Because many small businesses, they come to us and they're like, hey, can you help us grow? Well, what does that mean? What is growth to you?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
love that you asked that.
Yeah. So we really kind of hold their hand and try to build out their dashboards, their goals, where they want to be, what they're trying to accomplish, really try to understand that. We really train our staff to kind of own those goals as their own.
Yeah.
And we become much more than just a vendor that helps them run good Facebook ads, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's, to me, what's really important and why we kind of started this. So that's the long-winded answer to a question that I've forgotten what it was. If I'm honest.
No, I loved it. I mean, it was really what sparked you to get into marketing in the
Yeah,
first place. So, I mean, everybody's got a path in terms of, how they got to where they've gotten to. So, that was great. I
yeah.
appreciate that.
It
Yeah.
really was. Like, I even, when I think about it now, I feel that emotional discomfort that I had back in 2009, 2010. Whilst I can't stop that happening to say that you feel that way,
Yeah.
maybe what I can do is make you feel that someone cares and supports you. So you're
100%.
not
Yeah.
totally alone.
Yeah. No, I mean it's so true. I mean, even when I started my agency and building, it was the sense of a lot of the podcasts and listening to other entrepreneurs going through similar things that I was going through was what kept me going.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, because it's not like a direct community, but in a way it is. It was like the silent community that I engaged in that kept me moving through and didn't allow me to quit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's a danger when you say never quit, never give up, because
Yeah.
some people, there are some things when you should shift from, right? And I would call that pivoting rather than giving up.
Yeah.
There is something to be said about never giving up. I think that's probably the magic source of every successful business owner or entrepreneur, is that they never gave up. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't shift from something that's not working, but the never giving up, because I think giving up for someone like yourself and someone like myself is that we wrap up our business and we go and get a job. That's
Yeah.
giving up.
Yes.
And I would suggest, even though you seem like a very nice person, I bet you'd be a horrible employee now, because I would be the worst. No one would ever want to hire me at this point. Um,
I think in many cases, not to say that I was a horrible employee, but I think in many cases I was just too loud, and really trying to run things like it was my company, and really trying to understand, like, why are they doing this and why are they
right,
shifting? And I've worked for enterprise companies, so
right,
sometimes it was like, where are you coming from? Where are you coming at this from? And
right.
it's like, well, sometimes people that are in the trenches can see a lot more than the folks sitting up at the top. And I think it's a hindrance to them that they don't listen to the folks that are actually doing the work to get it out, right?
Well, I'm glad you said
So
that, because I think that's right. Because I was definitely too very loud with CarMax.
yeah,
Whilst CarMax, back when I was doing, I'm not sure what kind of company they are now, because it's been 20 years since I've worked with them. But back in those days, they would be rated as best place to work, all that kind of stuff. And they had some really good systems and processes, but there was a lot of things that I did not like, and that I was very verbal about the changes that needed to happen.
yeah,
But which probably just made me a bit of a pain in the butt a little bit. Nowadays, and the entrepreneurial part of me was always there, and I think that was why, because I had some ideas of how things should go. I was always about caring for people,
yeah,
even though a lot of people that might meet me might think that I can be kind of you know decisive and tough. But I really do believe that if you build a brand which is fun, has a little bit of a edge to it, but people feel like you care,
yeah,
that's been really good for us, right? So, and I would probably say that our brand identity online is probably very much, hey, how can we help you? And I've got a lot of stuff out there where I kind of say stuff that some people like feel like it's a little bit in your face, but it's coming from a place, and I think people see it coming from a place of, look, I've been there. I've done it. This is what we're seeing. Stop doing this. Do this. Stop
yeah,
overthinking it. Do this. And I know you guys are all about trying to show people that marketing doesn't. I've actually got a really cool story that recently happened, Sasha, that I want to share
yeah,
with you
yeah,
about
please.
about this uncomplicated marketing thing, right?
Yeah,
About,
yeah,
because I know how strongly you feel about small businesses just letting themselves let go of some of the stuff that's out there about marketing and advertising. And a lot of them feel that it's almost like magic or luck, or it's like a casino, and it's like, and they
gambling,
go from agency
risk.
to agency, or throw stuff at the wall, and there's no thought or pattern or anything to it. And I think it's because they don't understand it, or they overcomplicate it. So in a room of about 200 business owners where I was recently speaking, I actually said to them, how do you guys feel about the word advertising? And all of them were like, "Ooh, yeah." And I was like, does it have a nasty feeling to you? And they were like, yes. Put your hands up if you feel bad. 75% of the room were like, yeah, it makes me feel bad, that word. How about marketing? Yeah, about the same. They were all like, oh, marketing and advertising, that's horrible. And then I said, well,
Yeah,
what if how important do you feel that it is to communicate with your community,
yeah,
like, or you communicate with your client base, right? Like, just communicate. You're just communicating with them. You're not advertising, you're not marketing, you're just communicating. And they were all like, oh, yeah, that's good. And I said, that is what marketing, true marketing is. It's about you communicating as a business your values and your goals and what you can do to help your client base, and you're just communicating with them. Half the time it's about letting them know that you exist. The other half is about helping educate them as to why you exist. And all of them put their hand up and said, that sounds good to me. And, because we're dealing with a lot of, family activity businesses, a lot of them are like dance schools, gymnastics, martial arts, cheerleading, all of those things that parents sign their kids up to.
Yeah.
Communicating your community means letting know that all the mums within a 10-mile radius of your location know that you exist and all the great things happening in there. And it's as simple as that. And to really uncomplicate things, the uncomplicated nature of it nowadays is with Facebook and Google, you can literally target those mums, and then you're just sharing the information. And that's pretty much what we do. And that's pretty much what we teach. And everybody agrees that sounds like a great thing. It's amazing. I get, ovations at the end of it where they're like, oh, that sounds a lot better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
When they're going on Instagram and all these guys are like, hey, you should do this and this.
I
Whoa,
know. I can
and I'll
10x
give you
your
a free
business.
pizza if it doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, stop.
It feels like a really bad car salesman.
It does. And I think
And
the
it cheapens the
industry,
work that we do.
I think, because of that, has that car salesman, insurance salesman feel to it. And because so many of our clients, and I know you've had this because you've been in the business long enough that I know that you have this. Not that I know you super well, but I know that you've had this as an agency owner. Clients that have come to you and they've worked with 4 other agencies and they've had a really bad experience and they feel like and then they come to you and then they're looking at you like somebody who's had a really bad relationship, maybe an abusive relationship, and they come to you and they kind of expect to be abused by you, right?
Yeah.
And what I would love, and what I'm trying to do, if I'm honest, is trying to help people when they're choosing agencies, because I do think as a small business, I do think agencies are very important, and I don't see AI changing that, if I'm honest. To give you an example, most small businesses, when we talk about small business, I'm talking about local businesses or even smaller e-com brands. They're run by technicians. They're run by people that aren't necessarily entrepreneurs. And the difference between a technician and an entrepreneur, in my mind, is an entrepreneur is in love with the business of building business. They don't really care what the product or service is. They just love the process of building businesses, the processes, the policies, the systems, the ideas of what to do. They build these systems and they put a manager and then they go on and build another one, right? A technician, however, is like a baker. He's very good at baking cakes, but not good at building businesses. A gymnastics coach that loves coaching kids and helping kids become great and strong and healthy and all of those good things, but they kind of fall into a gymnastics gym because they're figuring out how to pay their mortgage, and being a coach doesn't quite do it. So they started a business around their love, and their love isn't the business, their love is the coaching. So they're technicians, they're not really business people. So when you're a technician, which is probably 95% of business owners out there, you need an agency to come in, because it covers the other half of the business that you aren't so good at, right? The sales and marketing. The 2 parts of a business is product and service. The other half is sales, revenue, and marketing, right? And maybe some administration. And if you get the right agency, your business can go into some pretty amazing places. So what I want to try to do, getting back to my original point, is helping business owners actually kind of interview and understand what a good agency is, because there are amazing agencies. I know a number of agency owners that are just wonderful, right? They literally do all they can for their clients. And how do you find those guys? What questions to ask? You don't need to become an expert in marketing, but you need to be able to know enough to be able to see if that agency passes the sniff test, right?
Yeah.
Are they after my money? Are they doing what a lot of agencies do, which is all they are trying to do is get as much money out of you up front, or can they keep you for 3 months and have you pay 3 payments, and the actual business model is they're expecting you to leave after 3 months and they're just bringing more people in. And what's running best in their business is their own marketing. What's not running so well is their deliverables. So how do you avoid those agencies, and how do you find agencies like maybe yours and mine, where I have clients that have been with us since we started. I mean, we literally have 10-year-old clients, and in our business, I mean, that's unheard of. You don't have 10-year-old clients.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think the formula is then? Trust?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, there's two things. There's an internal thing and there's an external thing. So what I have coming to believe when it comes to business owners and business management is, one, having a really clear idea of what you want to accomplish. So if you come into a meeting like this where you're talking to an agency and you really don't know what you want to accomplish, you just want more, that's going to put you in a difficult position potentially, because there is really something that you want, but you need to be able to explain it to somebody. This is what I want to accomplish, right? Once you know that, then you can ask questions around that. How are you going to go about it if they are actually interested in that? I look for, I would be looking for agencies that are talking about profits. We talk about profits. So if you're a client, then you come to us. We're not just talking about sending you leads. We're not just talking to you about getting sales. We're talking to you about your profit line, right? I'm talking about, how do we get you to where you want to be personally in 3 years' time, right? That's easy to do with small businesses. With larger businesses, it tends to be, what is your company's goals to be profit-wise in 3 years' time? If they're not talking about profit, that would be a little bit of a question mark to me, because profit is sanity, revenues are vanity, right? So finding out, without you saying, is profit important to you? Because I'll just say yes, but are they talking about profits? Are they talking about how they financially affect your business? Because quite frankly, marketing and advertising should improve or at least bolster your revenues. In good times, your revenue should grow. In bad times, you should stay solid.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but basically working through that process of, I know what my goals are, so I feel good. I understand data. So when I see data, I can't be, I can't have people, blow smoke, up my butt, so to speak. And then see if they're talking about things that are important, right? Which ultimately, the most important thing to any business is its profits.
Yeah.
And that is what we want, and do we always succeed? No. Most times I would say that the reasons why we don't succeed is not ourselves, because really marketing is very uncomplicated. We really do come down to, we are going to focus on your target audience. So the only people seeing your ads are the people that you tell us are your target audience.
Yeah.
And then we're going to tell your story, and we're going to tell it in a very compelling way. That's it. It's pretty simple, right? So we're usually pretty successful. Where the breakdown sometimes happens is operational. Like we've had problems with clients that we're selling. I mean, a really good example is this amazing product, which was like this bamboo underpants that these guys were selling.
Bamboo material.
Yeah, and it was like really soft and nice.
It's great. Yeah.
And there was a specific size, which was like large. It was men's underpants or something. It was large, and it was the one that sold the most. And they kept going out of stock. So that affects the algorithm. It was this constant fight to try, and it was this constant battle. And we were constantly selling it out, and it was constantly causing problems, which was causing their return on investment to drop, and their ROAS to hurt. And things like that. We had a tea company that was just starting out, and she got to the point where her problems was that she needed a larger warehouse and some staffing, because she was getting so many orders that it was becoming overwhelming. I still have a email to this day of her complaining that her fingers were bleeding packing boxes, right? So whilst marketing and advertising is part of the answer, the logistical part of having your business set up correctly is important. When it comes to kids activity centers, gymnastics is a good example. if you don't have any more classes to open because you're not doing a good job of hiring, doesn't matter how good your marketing is, you just have long waiting lists. And like a restaurant with a 3-month waiting list, what would does it matter if you have a 3-month waiting list or a 1-month waiting list? It actually makes no difference to your business. So and that's why, if I'm honest with you, Sasha, we kind of have added additional services where we pull in information and best practices and how to solve these problems from our customer base, because we have about 120 clients and we've had hundreds over the years, like multiple hundreds over the years. So we've been able to build a nice little encyclopedia of information of, hey, we've seen this problem before. This is how our clients fix this problem in the past. This is what you should do. We even have a whole training, and if anybody goes to Creatively Disruptive's YouTube channel, we have a lot of training on how to solve staffing issues for gymnastics gyms.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
our biggest problem
Yeah.
with gymnastics gyms is not it's easy to sell it to mums,
Yeah.
but when you've got waiting lists and you can't hire people and you've got these internal issues, it doesn't matter how many mums are interested if you can't actually sign them up. So we've had to kind of solve those problems. And that's part of that solving that 3 a.m. in the morning thing, right? So that mum, that gym that's staring at the ceiling thinking, I'm not making any money, but I've got waiting lists and I'm full. How do I solve this problem? Because I'm stuck, right? It doesn't matter if I have Andy's team bring me more customers. I can't sign them up. What do? I can't solve this. Our job, we take that on as your agency partner to figure out how to solve it, even though it's got nothing to do with Facebook or Google or website development or anything. It sometimes has to do with, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So when you're walking through talking to agencies, are they selling you a singular process that they think is the best thing in the world? Or are they looking at you as a whole business and a whole person that has hopes and dreams and are willing to be there to kind of help you? That's kind of the kind of agency that I want to be, and that I think are ultimately successful for a small business owner.
I completely agree, and thank you for saying that. I mean, everything that you've said to thus far is exactly sort of like our internal charter in terms of how we operate as a business. And like, I haven't been in business as long as you have, but we've had companies that have stayed with us since inception.
Right.
And it's almost like the analogy of, if you go to a chiropractor, or if you go to a cardiologist, or you go to an endocrinologist, or you go to a general practitioner, they're siloed in their practice of different parts of the body, and they have never been in medical school taught how to look at your body as a whole in terms of
Right.
ecosystem. But now the wave of functional medicine practitioners, which are also doctors, that are coming into the funnel, will be able to look at you and say, okay, you have pain in your front abdomen, that could probably be manifesting from somewhere else. So
Yep.
you are absolutely on point when it comes to the understanding of, yes, there are many businesses that are extremely successful and very good to work with, that silo on geofencing, social media marketing, Instagram and Facebook ads. But when you're really going to look for a partner that's going to be your inside outside growth partner to support you, where you will be pulling the levers of potentially maybe working with other expert industries, but this is a company that is going to look at you from a whole, understand not just your marketing issues, but business optimization at the end of the day. And
Right.
frankly, I think marketers that understand businesses as well as marketing are going to be the ones that are winning,
Yep.
because you look at the ecosystem as a whole versus just a one track mind of only what is marketing doing versus, are there gaps in money that my client is leaving on the table? Like, I had a health and wellness client, and they basically were getting on a call and giving free complimentary calls for almost 45 minutes. And
Ooh.
somebody then wouldn't even do the service. I'm like, you need to take what other doctors take and basically say it's $100 to have the consultation. And if you work with us, it goes towards your payment of any service that we put you on, or if you don't, then that's $100 in our pocket, because
Right.
time is money. You can't be
Yeah.
spending time by educating somebody else who eventually is going to maybe say no to you because there is no value in what you're giving to them from a psychological standpoint, and then go do business with somebody else because they're actually making them pay for it.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of agencies, and like they'll throw out proposals and stuff to people. We don't do proposals. We're not going to do a proposal for somebody because it's just a sales tool, which half of the information and data in it is usually useless to the client. And it's really, like, most proposals are pre-made, right? So if you go, just for anybody who's listening, if they go and they ask for a proposal for somebody, the proposal is pretty much pre-made. There's like 95% of
Yeah.
it. They're just putting in some client information into it to make it look that it's custom. We do a thing called a result action plan, and it costs $5,000, right? You want us to do it for you. It's going to be $5,000. But the reason why we do that is we want it to be good. We want it to be something that you can walk away with and actually have some real use to it. Now, again, like your wellness client, if you do business with us, if we do this work for you, it's a 40-page document showing you where you are today and where you want to be, because we'll talk about that, and then how we get you there, right? It's basically the process. And that's every step that we go there. That's why we charge the money that we do. It's a document that our team would use as a step-by-step plan to implement for you. And if you don't want us to do it, you can use it as a step-by-step plan for you to try to figure out yourself. And some people do that, right? They'll pay the $5,000. We'll do that, and we've got an additional thing called rapid results testing, where we actually do some rapid results. That's $2,500 on top of that, where we'll take, plus ad spend of $1,000, right? So the client will pay $1,000. We will actually do some rapid results testing and actually find if the market actually wants your product, because we have so many new brands, or we have some clients that and this is from an e-com standpoint, the e-com client is maybe stagnated and doesn't know why they can't grow anymore. Well, we're going to go and see where the market is to your brand, and what opportunities there are, right? And that there's real thought and process to it, and you must come away with something useful, regardless of whether or not you continue working with us. That's our feeling. And if we can't give you something useful, then we're not going to charge you. We're going to move on. If you don't see the value in us, that's fine. There's others. We do have waiting lists of people who want to talk to us, right? So I think there's true value in valuing yourself, which is what we do. This is why we charge for our time. But we don't do anything if there's not going to be a real value being given to the client. And I think talking to an agency and getting a sense as to, do they really care? Are they really interested in me? Do they want me to be successful? How do they want me to be successful? There's I do a lot of, like, I'm on Instagram a lot, and I buy a lot of trash on Instagram, because I kind of like, I'm the worst person when it comes to seeing something that looks cool and I want to buy it. Especially on Instagram and Facebook, and it usually ends up taking 9 weeks and comes from China somehow, and blah blah blah. But saying that too, because I'm on there a lot, and because obviously Meta knows what I do for a living, and sees what my online journey is, I get a lot of agencies selling me all sorts of stuff. And there's some things that I go, okay, I want to learn about this, and I'll book a meeting with them. And if I sit down there and I feel like I'm having the Sandler sales process being handed to me, it really turns me off, right? It feels like I'm being put, especially if the person who's talking to me is like a 21-year-old sales closer, and he's like got all of his tactics going. It rubs me up the wrong way, even though, if I'm honest, back in the day, I was probably doing similar things to that, right? Like when I was working with CarMax and different organizations that I was with, and there's a real lack of interest in me, in a very, what is it that I want? It's definitely, they're trying to get the sale. They're trying to close the deal. They're trying to be able to rest against their red Ferrari so they can take a photo and put it on Instagram, right? I want to avoid those agencies. I want to work with an agency that's trying to solve my problem. And our actual sales process that we've developed, is all around the client's problem, and it's not a adversarial sales process, right? You think of when you're bringing on a new client, a lot of times there's this: here's the client trying to find out information and how much it costs, and there's the salesperson trying to build the value and close the deal.
Yeah.
We take it from a different standpoint, where we're not talking about us. We're talking about what is it that brought the client to us? What is the problem that they have? And we try to sit on the same side as the client, looking at the problem and go, okay, let's figure out what this problem is and how we need to solve it. And can we solve it? And if we can't solve it, we don't think we're the right person. We'll go, you know what? I don't think we're the right people. We can't do this. The reality is, from a marketing standpoint, if it's truly a marketing problem, we probably can solve it. But we
Yeah.
can only solve it if we understand what it is that the client has a problem with.
Yeah.
And we really work hard on doing that, because it ends up being that long-term client. It ends up being that client that stays for longer than 3 months. We don't charge upfront fees. Avoid any agency. I hate to say it, and I hate to say it if your agency does this, but I don't
Yeah.
think it does.
Yeah.
Avoid the agency that says, "Oh yeah, pay $15,000 up front and you don't have to pay any more." That
Yeah.
agency is not looking for a long-term relationship. That agency is going to try to get you past the credit card chargeback dispute marker, and they might get you some results and they may not,
Yeah.
but their main goal is to get that 15,000 out of you. Avoid those guys.
Yeah.
I've
Because it's
actually
just the
done.
cash flow in the end.
That's it. They're trying to keep you for 3 months. They want their
Yeah.
15,000. The sales got this. Their salesperson wants to close, 5 deals a week. He probably gets
Yeah.
10%. It makes him a lot of money. He might be working out of Dubai. Who knows? And
Yeah.
it's not a good feeling. It's not someone who's going to sit with you and have a relationship with you, and hopefully you're talking to them for 10 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I think most people with a good gut feeling should be able to find that agency. And I just want to reiterate what Sasha is saying, what I'm saying. Marketing ultimately is about using the platforms to target your audience that's most likely going to purchase, and then tell your story as to why they should care. And if you've got a good product, you're going to be fine. If you've got a crappy product, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
We won't represent you if you've got a crappy product. We just won't. That's part of
Yeah.
our process. That's
Yeah.
part of our interview with you. If you've got, a product that just no one, we feel pretty strongly no one wants, we're probably going to say, hey, we're probably not the right agent. We're not going to tell you that your product's crappy, but we will say we're probably not the right guys for you, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how. I don't want to be the agency selling an agency that's crap, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to be the agency doing the ads for the guy that's going to charge $15,000 to people. I don't want to be representing that kind of product. So
Yeah.
the good news is most local businesses, gymnastics gyms, bakeries, banks, and, roofers, home renovation companies, all companies that we've worked with or do work with, they're usually good products. They're good people wanting to do good work, and all they need is more exposure to their local communities, and they do well. From an e-com standpoint, all of our e-com brands are good quality, useful products, and all we need to do is find the right audience that was likely to purchase it, and then tell the story about why these are great products, and it sells themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If a product can't sell itself, it's marketing's difficult.
Yeah. 100%. Which is an amazing segue because I want to dive into like the strategy and scaling part. So, one of your specialties is helping the kids activity centers,
Mm.
which scale, which I want to dive into. But what are 1 to 2 mistakes you see these type of businesses make over and over again within their marketing? I mean, and it could be the kids activity centers, which is maybe like, a main focus, but you just mentioned, a few other industries, and I think there could potentially be a through line.
Oh yeah. I think local businesses, especially technicians, they tend to not think that marketing is important. One of the biggest issues is, and we see this all the time, is word of mouth is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
And I literally did a speech on the weekend on Sunday about how word of mouth will fail your business. It's not a strategy; it's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
So if your main strategy is a bonus, that's going to be a problem for you, right? that word of mouth for small business is, while something that we should strive to make sure that we have, gives you no control, right? You're giving up your control to others. That you're hoping that Sasha has such a good experience with Andy that Sasha tells her friends about Andy. That's not a strategy, right? So realizing that word of mouth is a good byproduct of good service, and not a strategy for growth, is probably one of the biggest mistakes a lot of small business owners do. To the point, Sasha, that a lot of these businesses, when they come to us, they don't even have a website.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a website at all. We had to build a strategy around, what if a business comes to us and doesn't have a website and doesn't have the money to build one? What do we do with that? So we actually had to come up with a strategy of how to drive business to them without any online presence at all. And thankfully with Facebook, as long as they've got a Facebook page, or we can easily build them a Facebook page, we can actually drive inquiries to them through lead ads and so forth. So we actually had to come up with a strategy around their absolute either fear of marketing, which I think you're very familiar with, or just a total, they just don't even think about it because they think word of mouth is everything. So a lack of understanding of how important and how game changing a good online presence can have to a local community. A lack of understanding that Gen Z and millennials, the first place that they go to is their phone to actually look for a solution to their problem. And if you're not on there, they're not going to find you. And a good example is, to this day, my landscaper, he's got a landscaping, he's kind of successful. So I guess I'm kind of like fighting against my own thing here. He does quite well. Everybody on our street uses him, but he doesn't even have a website. All he has is a phone number, and people share it.
Yes, but I do want to kind of put a peg in that, because I think that I think that he's somebody that's satisfied with the work that he currently has.
Right.
I don't think he's somebody that wants to scale into 10 million, 20 million landscaping business, right? So to your point, in that sense, yes, the word of mouth can be so beneficial, because he's going to be like, at this cap, I'm happy and I've made it and I'm successful and I don't want any more. Because because that life to him is not what he's striving for.
Right.
He's comfortable where he is right now, which is okay.
Yep. Which is okay. The gymnastics, most gyms, in my experience, gymnastics gyms, kids activity centers, dance schools, all of that, they're always under the numbers that they need. Most of them are making less money than that they would if they had a job. Right. And mainly because that they're acting like the landscaper that's doing quite well and is happy where he is. They're acting that way, but they want more. And just helping them understand that you don't need to know it all, because a lot of these people tend to wear 17 hats as well, right? So I'm a guy that's constantly trying to figure out, and I think it's where our magic sources come from. I'm looking to wear as little hats as possible. I want to wear no hats. The reality is I'm always going to wear probably at least one hat, but I don't want to wear 17. Right. And when I say 17 hats, that means, there wasn't even Monday. Remember Monday, the CRM system? They used to call themselves 17 hats. They rebranded themselves from 17 hats to Monday, and they called themselves 17 hats because small business owners would give themselves so many jobs to do. They would be the cleaner. They would be the toilet unplugger. They would be the front desk person, the CEO, the everything, right? So a lot of it is working through especially these kids activity center owners, to realize maybe you should wear a few less hats and have some people who are better at wearing those hats doing those services for you. And you'll have a much better chance of succeeding. And one of those things, and going kind of back to being more of a business partner and helping them, that holistic, looking at their whole body and what's wrong. One of the services that we actually own, which is Kai, the AI, that only came into existence.
My mind in terms of like where I'm going in this conversation.
That actually only came into existence because we were very successful. Well, here's an evolution of how our marketing went with activity centers. So we started, and all we did was just run Facebook ads, and the responses would come through as an email to the client's email, right? And it wasn't very organized. They'd just get emails of people inquiring. And some of the clients, especially the ones that are still with us to this day, back in those days, we're okay with that. But as we grew and scaled, we found that there was more and more of them that found that very disorganized, and they weren't very good at following up because of it, because it was just going into an email, and they had no system with which to follow up with. So we developed a system where, sure, they got the email, but the email got zapped into, say, a spreadsheet so they could start following up with it. And then we found, based on seeing what they were doing, that they were still just calling once and leaving a message and hoping the person would come back. And we realized, maybe they need some sales training. So then we evolved into, hey, you've got to, doing sales training. Here's the reason why you got to do it. You're reaching out to mums. Mums don't always answer the phone. They're very busy. They got a lot on their mind, blah, blah, blah. You got to think about that. You got to contact them 5 days in a row. You got to text, email, and call them. You got to do all those things to make sure you got the best chance that they'll respond to you, so you got a chance of signing up their kid. And we actually did a whole sales training to support our clients, because we realized that it wasn't enough just to drive inquiries to them, right? Then we realized that because we've been doing this 10 years, there's been like an evolution of generations even as well, right? When we started, there wasn't a lot of Gen Z mums. Now a lot of Gen Z are mums, right? So Gen Z is pretty much the 20-year-olds, right? All the way through late 20s are Gen Zs at this point. There's a lot more Gen Zs now that are mums. And what we realized about 5 or 6 years ago, that Gen Zs especially, and young millennials, aren't really that interested in being told how to interact with businesses. They want to interact with you the way they want to. And if you don't interact with them the way they want to, they just won't interact with you. So it's not, back with the Gen Xers and the later millennials, they were okay with being forced into a funnel system, right? Now, everybody's heard of sales funnels and marketing funnels, and that's great, but to a degree, a lot of these funnels are forcing people through a process. Oftentimes they don't want to do it, right? So what we found out with doing a few surveys and doing a bit of research and seeing what's going on with our own client base, that Gen Zs especially, they want to do it the way they want to do it. So some of them want to walk in, some of them want to call you. Not many want to call you, but some of them want to call you. Many of them want to text you. Many of them want to DM you. Many of them want to message you on Facebook. There's lots of different ways that they want to communicate. And if you don't cater to all of that, you're actually only going to focus on one little segment. You're going to miss out on opportunity. So we built a system called the Amplify method, which allows us to capture, to help that mom reach out to the business the way that mom wants to reach out. And then we help the business with that. Now, when we first started that, it was quite unwieldy for the gyms, because they were having to be logged into all their different channels and manage all those channels, and all of a sudden they had to start texting people where they never used to text. They used to just email. But Gen Z doesn't use email unless they're signing up to Tinder or whatever, right? So they don't use email at all. But so you can't just be emailing. So we had to educate our industry, basically, that you need to be texting, you need to be messaging, and you need to be open to communicating the way the client wants to communicate. And if you can do that, then you're going to do even better. But then that led to another problem, and that was, oh my gosh, how do we manage all of those incoming inquiries from all those different places, and how do we track it all? So that led to us developing Kai, if I'm honest. So Kai, which is our customer AI, it's a inquiry management system, and it allows you to do all of your social media management in one system. You can do all your reputation management in one system. You can do your email marketing in one system, and it's your customer management. So a lot of small businesses don't have CRMs, right? Like you have it. I'm certain, what I know of you from this conversation, that your company has CRM systems for your sales teams, right? And a CRM system for your client account managers. We do too, right? Most small businesses don't. They don't have CRMs. They have notepads. They have books. They have stick-it notes. They have all sorts of stuff, right? The plumber, he might just have to scroll through his stuff, and things get missed, and opportunity gets lost. So, Kai is a whole customer management system. So when somebody emails you, it populates all of his data, like it will automatically pull out the data, like the name, the phone number, whatever it can pull out from the email and populate profile. If they message you on Meta, it'll pull whatever information it can from their Meta information and populate it. If they're texting you, it'll try to do the same thing, and it slowly builds out the profile. If they message you and call you or and email you, and it'll populate all three, and it will show, hey, this person's messaging from these different places. So it gives one focal point where you can communicate with these people without having to be across all the different platforms. You just in this one Kai system communicating with the client, and it makes it a lot more easy and a lot more efficient to be able to make sure that all the clients are being responded to. So, and that was problem one, right? Trying to organize it so we weren't missing stuff. So, if you hadn't logged into Instagram for 2 weeks, you wouldn't log in there and see 3 inquiries that are already gone stale. That inquiry would get pushed through into the Kai system, and you'd be able to talk to them. The other benefit of that is very quickly you could see how the singular customer would prefer to get communicated with. So you'd see loads of text messages from a customer, and you go, okay, that customer likes to be texted. Loads of calls from a customer. Okay, this person probably wants to be called. You'd see, lots of communication maybe through your web chat. Maybe that's how they want to communicate. However they want to communicate, you kind of stick to their lane, so they're more likely to respond. But then, as you can imagine, if ad campaigns start becoming successful, there becomes lots of it. And what we find with lead generation, this is across all industries, most leads come in after hours. Most leads come in oftentimes in holidays and time when people are off, when people are most likely to be on their social media, right? So, 4th of July weekend gets a lot of leads a lot of times. Businesses are closed. Businesses are oftentimes not operating, especially at 9:00 at night on a Sunday, which is actually the most likely time that a mom is going to inquire about joining your gym, right? Now, you're not going to have somebody in there at 9:00 at night on a Sunday. The downside for that is if you don't respond within 5 minutes, you're losing a lot of chance that you'll ever respond to them. In fact, the data that we've seen, and it's proven industry-wise, and I think there's been multiple studies on it, is that if you can respond to an inquiry within 5 minutes, you got a 400% more likelihood that they'll become a customer. That's a big problem to overcome, but that is where the AI came in, right? So now we're at a point that we've actually developed the AI, and this has been over the last 2 years. We started developing it about 2 years ago, and we really started launching it about a year ago. And we now have probably half of our client base is using it. And now at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, when the mum is like, I'm done with these kids, I need to find something for them to do. She reaches out, and Kai responds within 30 seconds while the mum's thinking about it. Much more likely that she's going to respond, much more likely that we're going to be able to organize booking a time for her to come into the business and get a tour or a free class or whatever. And all of a sudden now we've kind of solved, we think, although it's funny because each time we've come up with a solution, we've gone, oh, thank God we figured it out and we've now solved it. We've always created another problem, right?
Always. That's how it works.
Right. So now we've solved all of this to the point that the clients are organized. Their clients are able to communicate with them with however they want, and now our clients are able to respond in a very organic, real way. Right whenever the client reaches out, either through text, email, not phone conversations yet, but I think probably if I talk to you in January, Kai will actually pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. So we've got that solved, but I think at that problem, that's where the spigot will be able to be turned on as hard as we want. That's where I do believe agencies like ours, Sasha, we were a little bit more holistic, are going to survive the AI trend. I think the agencies that aren't thinking the way we are going to go out of business because AI will put them out of business, right? Because
Yeah.
you'll be able to create an ad with AI. What we will be doing, and this is why we kind of call ourselves a revenue growth agency rather than a marketing agency, is I see the next problem is being an expert on how to help the client readjust and rework their business operations to be able to handle the flood of inquiries. So now the problem that we have with our clients, because we're now starting to see the creep of the next problem
Yeah.
is staffing. Okay, you've got a whole bunch of teenagers working with you and they call off on a Friday all the time. And now we see our clients stressing out and getting burnt out because they've got waiting lists, they've got lots of people interested in doing business with them, but they've got poor staffing practices and they've got poor, I hate to say it, but poor staff quality.
Yeah.
The highest, the most common complaint that we see on reviews for kids' activity centers is I didn't pay to have a kid teach my kid.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of teenagers think, oh yeah, I did dance for 10 years. I'm going to be a dance teacher. And the dance, oh yeah, I'd love to have an extra class because I can make more money. And then there's a 15-year-old teaching 12-year-olds how to do dance. And that doesn't necessarily always float
Pan
the boat
out.
of
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
So we're now, we've got a process and my team has actually told me to stop saying this, but I'm going to say both of them. I'm going to say what my team is telling me to say, but what I actually see.
Yeah.
We actually have a process now that 100% of the time fixes this problem.
Yeah.
I say that. My team says, stop saying that because no one believes you, because nothing is 100%. Tell
Yeah.
them that 97% of the time it fixes it. But
Yeah.
I can say that everybody that I've ever worked with, everybody that I've ever gone through the process of it, we've actually solved it. The problem is getting them to understand that that's a problem that they have. And, a lot of that stems from, I know I'm throwing so much stuff at you,
No,
but
this is all great stuff.
the problem that we see is kind of comes full circle back to what your original reason of existing is with this thing is the
Yeah.
fear of that gym owner to do good marketing because they believe it's complicated and difficult and magic and they don't know where their next customer is going to be, so they don't
Yeah.
raise their prices,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of kids activity centers are way undercharging what their value is. Parents don't sign kids up to gymnastics classes to save money. They
Yeah.
sign kids to gymnastics classes to help their kids grow.
Yeah.
And what the
Keep them
gyms do
busy.
is they're scared of raising prices because they're scared of losing clients
Yeah.
because they don't have any system to replace them with.
Oh,
So it kind of comes full circle. And
yeah.
what we've done is figured out if we can solve that problem, build their confidence, they raise their prices, they pay their staff more, they get a better quality of staff, they start
Yeah.
getting adults interested because they're not getting paid
Sure.
$12 an hour.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're working through this now to try to solve that problem. I'm sure once we solve that problem, there'll be something like trying to find right locations because the businesses need to be bigger or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of our mentality of how so when you come in as a client, that's the kind of agency that you're working with, the one that's
Yeah.
constantly trying to solve your problems and constantly trying to solve your next problems. I'm not just wondering what your click-through rate is.
Yes. Because you're looking at the pulse of the business. And I love going back to the analogy. Like we can even use another analogy of like a car, right?
Right,
We already talked about bodies and like, how our system works. And it's funny because cars work very similar to like how bodies work. We have to fine tune cars like we have to fine tune our bodies. So we can keep moving through life and cars can keep driving us around. But with a car system, similar to like what you're talking about in terms of how you run your agency, it is the health of how that car is operating from a full scale and technically really looking under the hood, which is what I like to talk about, and
right,
really figuring out, you have the car in the car shop with me. Let's figure out what's going on. Or we're taking an antique and we're building it back up to get back on the road. Let's take a peek under the hood, similar to your business. Let's go
right,
behind the scenes and let's take a look at what's happening behind the scenes to ensure that we optimize and fine tune to get you ready to really have supercharged growth in market. Because if this isn't being tweaked, you're just spending money and shooting blanks in the dark.
Right. And that is what the fear is, I think, of most small business owners is I don't know enough. I'm a really good baker. I know how to bake really good
Yeah.
cake. My
Yeah.
expertise is not necessarily even staffing of my business. I'm a good baker, but I want to make money doing it. I want this to be my job. So I've got to open a bakery, and then they wear their 17 hats
Yeah.
and they want to hold on to them, especially founders. I found that founders of businesses tend to feel like, well, this is how I've always done it. This is what I'm comfortable with. I'm very uncomfortable with change. Um, and, my job as your partner, because when I bring on clients, my goal is to have them forever, right?
Yeah.
And we work that way. So if I'm going to have you forever, sometimes I've got to have hard conversations with you. We're not a yes man agency at all. We'll be like your personal trainer,
Your
who's going to
reasoner.
say,
Your
get
reasoner.
your
Yeah.
get your butt moving,
Yeah.
or your doctor who's going to say, stop smoking.
Yeah.
You're killing yourself. Stop
Yeah.
doing this. We're not going to just go, oh yeah, whatever you want. That's not what you're paying for us. And if you do want us, we're not the right agency for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting that you say that, because similar to a client who, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all in business to make money. But, I
yep,
think that when you find agencies similar to yours that like lead from the heart and really want to see you flourish and thrive and survive in this market today, that is hugely rare. And,
right,
one of my clients is like, she had brought on a new sales guy, so on and so forth. And she's like, he's just not closing it. Like, I was helping her with sales enablement from that kind of aspect of things as well. And, she was just like, I got to cut in places. And I said, you need to understand that I am not in the business. And I'm not telling you this because I'm fighting to keep my retainer with you, because your loss is not going to make me any less richer or any less poor. And I
right,
said, but it's gonna put a dampen on your business if you remove marketing versus cut back on marketing. So there's a difference between eliminating and cutting back when the going gets tough. As we work with businesses, there's always going to be an ebb and flow, because as with marketing, we're working we're dancing to the tune of the market, right? It's not similar to a chief revenue officer or financial officer where they have one goal. Who supports those goals are sales and marketing. And if you
right,
cut them out, how is the financial and the revenue officer and the CEO really going to be making their goals on that quarterly or monthly basis, right? So it's the concept of the going is gonna get tough and it's never gonna go away, because you're gonna have spurts of amazing and then you're gonna have down like dips, right? You're gonna have peaks and valleys, so to say. And in those valleys, you're going to need to understand, what do I have that's in marketing that's a nice to have? And I'll give you a simple analogy. It's the concept of, you're posting 22 times a week on social media. Social media is great to have because, like you said, like the Gen Zs, everybody else, when they're uncovering and discovering you, they go and find out and dig deeper in beyond the cover of your book, right? And so they're
yep,
finding out who you are as a company, whether you're in B2C or B2B. Now, if you're not present, then you're non-existent to them, right? But at the end of the day, you know, that's not really creating a conversion for you. It probably has an indirect conversion, or unless you're somebody that has 20 million followers on your Instagram account and you just post one thing and everybody just buys, that's very rare. So
right.
scale back, post 4 times a week versus 20, and put that energy and that resource into something else that really has an ROI for you until you get back to where you need to be.
But I actually have a lot of I have some data. I used before COVID.
Yes.
Um, there was a couple of ups and downs economically over the 5 years before COVID that we were in business, and I would talk about the Great Recession in the 30s. That
Yeah.
many of the businesses that were household names before the 30s went out of business because they cut back their marketing. Um, and there was household names that were made during the 30s because they stepped up their marketing. One of them being Chrysler, right?
Yeah.
So Chrysler became a major US brand through the 30s. And some of that was because they really doubled down and really got into it. And there were some brands that just went away and they were household names because they cut their marketing out.
Yeah.
And I do believe there's opportunity in those downturns. And a good example was like what was worse than the 30s was COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So COVID happened, especially in the kids activity center industry, where our California clients were closed down for a year.
Yeah.
They were forcibly closed down.
Yeah.
So and same within Chicago, and maybe Chicago was about 7 to 8 months, and there was clients of ours that were really put out for a long period of time. There was other states where they were down for a month or so and they were back.
Yeah.
But the clients, when that happened, it was back in the day, we probably had about 70 clients in the kids activity center realm. The ones that came to us and said, panic stations, we can't do any marketing.
Yeah.
And those were kind of the newer ones, if I'm honest. We've got to stop our marketing. Sorry, we're canceling, right? Many of them they didn't exist. 2 months later, they actually closed down.
Yeah.
Our older clients that kind of knew us, and one of our clients said to us, we're going to keep paying you because we want to make sure you survive, because you're our heartbeat, because we've been with you for 5 years. They were one of the ones that signed up in the first year.
Yeah.
All of the ones that continued paying us money when they were even closed, they were taking money out of the EID loans and their their PPP loans, and they were paying us money.
Yeah.
Now we did pivot our business a little bit towards ecom, and ecom was flourishing then, and which allowed us to structure ourselves. But I left my kids activity center team in the kids activity center realm, and that we were doing free. We actually we put together a system so our clients or any kids activity center could do online streaming of classes.
Yeah.
Right. So they could still do their classes in their gym by themselves, and their kids could tune in to do the classes with them.
Yeah.
We came up with all sorts of different things. We gave away our course that we still sell to this day, and we said, you pay us whatever you can afford.
Yeah.
And you can pay us zero if you can't afford anything, or you pay us, thousands if you want to pay us thousands. It was basically when they were checking out, they were able to put in whatever number they wanted, and we were making a few $1,000s a month.
Yes.
From people just giving us something, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, all of the clients, every single one of the clients that stayed with us, every single one of the clients that continued marketing and continued engaging with their audience, continued engaging with their client base, continue engaging with their community, they bounced back as soon as the doors opened.
Yeah.
They bounced back strongly because those moms were like, oh my God, I want to get rid of these kids.
Yeah.
They were sick of the kids being in the house for however long they were forced to do it.
Yeah.
And they bounced back really strongly. The ones that shut down, they really struggled to get back, and many of them never came back.
Yeah.
And I would highly suggest that in bad times, it's a little bit like, put some money aside for the bad times. Have a slush fund. Put 20 grand aside. Have a 20 grand bank account. That we live in the United States. Bad times don't usually last more than a few months, right? 6 months is a bad recession, right? Put 20 grand aside, whatever the dollar amount is, to continue advertising. When the bad stuff happens, use that money to boost what you're doing.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is, let's say we'll use kids activity center. Let's say dance schools. Let's say there's 5 dance schools in your community, and you're one of them. The other 4 decide that they're going to stop marketing.
Yeah.
Let's say that there's 10,000 people, 1,000 kids in that local community that are dancing. You've got 200 of them. Each of the other ones have 200. They stop marketing.
Yeah.
You're going to get a much greater market share of the kids. You may double. You may go from 200 to 400. One of the other ones go out of business, and the other ones suffer. And you'll actually grow during that time, because what happens when we see this in the data is, during a downturn, and COVID, it kind of happened a little bit. There's a lot less voices, because a lot of people are thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to back off of the marketing. So your advertising costs become lower, because there's a lot less voices. So as the auction systems kind of like have less money in them, it becomes cheaper to advertise. There's still just as many eyeballs because it doesn't cost anything for a mum. They're not getting rid of their cell phones, right? They'll lose their house before they get rid of their cell phones.
Yeah.
They're still on the cell phones looking around. You're in front of these people. Your voice is a lot louder because there's less voices.
Yeah.
And you can actually grow market share during these times, even though the market might
100%.
have gone
Yeah.
from 1,000 to 800, which would be a 20% downturn, which would be a pretty severe recession.
Yeah.
But you took 400 of the kids because the others have just disappeared as far as the community is concerned.
Yeah. No, I really love that you say that, because it is super important to remember that those that cut back during a downturn, it is almost like you flourish. Nobody wants to have a downturn, but you flourish within a downturn because there's a lot of people that are going to run scared and cut back. So guess what? Eyeballs are going to be more on you. There's going to be less competition. There's going to be less noise in the market, and you'll be able to penetrate. I mean, one client that I had during COVID was a learning platform for solo and small law firms to get them from making $250,000 to a million plus, right? A year.
Right.
And he came up with something during COVID called the give a shit list. And he basically told all of the lawyers that were in our system, why don't you call existing clients and previous clients that you've had even before COVID and just ask them about their family, ask them how they're doing, ask them what's going on, ask them how things are going. And you know what? There was one law office that probably made close to $750,000 within that one sort of like almost 3 quarters, right? Because they weren't even selling to them, right?
Right.
And they were keeping a pulse, and they were basically showing up. And I think there was a lot of people that ran scared, and they didn't know, as we talked about in the beginning with you, how do they pivot within certain things. So yeah.
And the other part to that, and I'll kind of leave with this, I guess, is I've got a story where, and basically what I'm going to say is,
Yeah.
be the bearer of good news, be the shining light, the sunshine in their life, online or whatever message you're having during dark times, and people will really gravitate towards you. We did that with COVID, where we were like, hey, I know things are really tough, but here's a load of hope. Here's a lot of things that you can do to help. And we ended up getting a lot of brand recognition
Yeah.
across our kids activity center industries, where to this day I have people come up to me and say, thank you for what you did during COVID.
Yeah.
When I started my publishing firm in 2009, I started that firm about 3 weeks before the Lehman Brothers collapsed,
Yeah.
which was the beginning of the bank collapses.
Yep.
And I was, oh my God, what have I done? Me and my partner at the time, we were like, it was just the two of us. We were like, you know what? We're going to walk through the door, and whatever good news we can find, we're going to walk through the door of this restaurant. We're going to tell them all of this good news. We're going to just give them loads of good news. We're not going to sit there and talk about all the bad things that are going on, because they've got enough of that.
Yeah.
So we got to the point that restaurateurs, even if they weren't working with us at that point, they were kind of happy to get us, and we would at least get free lunches. We'd go in there, and I'd say, hey, I'll make you something to eat. You would sit down and chat with me, and we'd talk about, hey, did you hear about this guy? They're doing this, and hey, we heard about this, and we heard about that. And we were a brand new, we were a publishing company. I mean, it was 2009 when people were starting to think, what's the value in print, right? So that was a problem. That was, even if the economy was good and the economy was suffering. And we were like, hey, guess how many people came into town last month,
Yeah.
right? Or hey, right now in the big casinos, because we were in South Lake Tahoe, or in Lake Tahoe, hey, right now in the casinos, there's 25,000 people. That's great. They're all going to be looking to eat because they're all sitting in a hotel room without a kitchen. They're going to go out somewhere and eat. They might as well
Yeah.
come and eat here. And we would share that kind of information. And we got known as almost like the good news boys.
Yeah.
And people wanted to hear from us. They wanted to see us walk through the door. Even if they didn't become a customer, they wanted to us in their business. And we actually really did really well during a really difficult period. While my wife's gym was really struggling and she wasn't earning money,
Yeah.
my new business that I started was starting to take off, even during a real down period, because we decided to shift from what was bad about the world, but what was good. And we do live in the United States, and
Yeah.
even during COVID, there was good news and different things.
100%.
It
There
was
was
hard.
always good news every day. As
and
crazy
if
as
we
it
can
was.
focus on that, right?
Yeah.
It was hard and terrible, and there was lots of bad stuff that went on.
Yeah.
But as business owners, we've got to kind of like look at it that way. If we get hung up in what can't happen and what won't happen and what's bad and what's poor us,
Yes.
it only makes it more difficult. Now, there's a
It
place
creates
for that,
stagnation.
right? And in reality, it creates fear.
Yeah.
And in a much more esoteric spiritual way,
Yeah.
which kind of, I don't want to go down this route too much, but I really do believe that there's a universe out there that speaks to us and we get what we put out there.
100%.
And if you put out their goodness and opportunity and abundance, it tends to come back to you.
Yes.
I have all sorts of crazy stories, which would be another podcast that I could share with you
I'd
on
love to
me
do that
me
because
thinking about
yeah,
things and stuff coming to
I'd
me.
love that because I do have a playlist on YouTube, which is um, mind and body to keep, entrepreneurs and business owners going. So that's definitely
Yeah, we
something we
can
should
chat.
talk
We can
about.
chat about that. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, making sure that your brand is seen as the positive brand. Doesn't matter how tough you're having it,
Yeah.
you've got to be the positive brand. No one wants to be
During the
involved
rough times. Yeah.
with those that don't want it. And during good times, they'll
Yeah.
remember, hey, these guys were great,
Yeah.
and that's where we make hay. But I always believe that the bad times should be looked at as business owners as that's the moment to take market share.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, just jumping into, we talked about you being a speaker, and I love that. And you're also a soon to be author. How has stepping into thought leadership changed how you show up for your clients? And tell
Um,
us a little bit about the upcoming book.
I think, I think I would say, I don't know. I don't know if it's changed a lot. I think it's been an outlet more than anything. I think
Yeah.
there's been pent up frustration of me wanting to spread a thought process that I believe really works, and being frustrated with how people operate, and it's more of an outlet for me to kind of be very honest and raw. Like, and my speeches typically, there's lots of nervous giggles
Yeah.
in the audience where people go, "Oh yeah, I do that." Well, oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah, that's true. So I kind of joke a little bit about the silliness that we do as business owners.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I think what's changed is that it's been a really good outlet for me personally to get that information that I have, or that feeling that I have about how we as business owners kind of are our own worst enemies half the time. And hey, look, there's some pretty simple, good ways to actually make things move.
Yeah.
And if you just get into it and you find the right partners, that you can create all sorts of amazing things, and to really speak about that. And I think that's been I would say that for me, it's changed from the point of view of feeling like I'm actually being able to put it out there. And as I've got older, Sasha, I've got a young kid. My son's only 8,
Yeah.
and we started late in the parent realm. The legacy thing is becoming a really big, important thing to me, is making sure that, I leave a bit of a track. I leave a mark which is good, right? I
Yeah.
want to leave a good imprint on my community and my industry and my family, and all of that kind of stuff, and being able to speak, and putting together this book that is a struggle to kind of put it together, because my
Yeah.
brain goes from one thing to the next. And the book is mainly about kind of the process of building a business that works, like,
Yeah.
and to try to keep it simple. Because it is. I mean, I was kind of drawn to your podcast because it kind of is true. It's like, avoid any person that you're looking to do business with that tries to overcomplicate things to make them seem bigger than you,
Yeah.
because they're the people you want to run from.
Yeah.
It doesn't need, you want to, be attracted and have more time for the people that simplify things.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, with all this technology, which is incredibly complicated and is changing constantly, and it could blow your mind if you really allowed it. Really, it's just stuff, right?
Yeah.
The thing that never changes is us as humans and kind of what's important to us, those change very slowly. And those are very tend to be, there's truths involved with them that you can feel quite confident with, and then the technology is just a whole bunch of tools,
Yeah.
and it's just tools that change and get better, and you just use some of them, and sometimes, hey, this is the best tool to use at this time, and you use that tool, and then throw that one away, here's a better one, and it's just
Yeah.
about selecting the right tools.
Yeah.
And that's why, really, as an agency, we come to our own, because we're helpful for our clients to help figure out what tools to use at this moment. But
Yeah.
the actual process of connecting with people kind of stays the same. We're just using different tools.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting back to the speaking and the book thing is more of just kind of sharing what's out there. Not that I feel that I've finished my journey and I've got to where I want to be. I've still got a lot of things that I want to accomplish, but for me, it feels good to be able to get that story out there in a way that hopefully makes a difference. Because it all comes back, if I'm honest with you, with staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. in the morning on 2000, I think it was March of 2009, wondering how we were going to pay our staffing bills in my wife's gym, because our gym went from 300 kids to 150 in 1 month, because the local casinos laid off all their staff, or huge amounts of their staff, and we were really struggling to figure out how to pay our bills. And I spent months not sleeping and having no one to come to. So my mission in a way is to make sure that no business owner that I ever have a contact with ever feels that way, that they have no, like, I'm not going to be able to stop you from staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But I want to be that person that you can feel that you can pick up the phone to and go, hey, I'm really worried about this. I'm really confused about this. Do you have any ideas? And, if you reach out to our team, that hopefully my team is, operating that way. And that's my mission. And it feels good. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, as much as I want to make money, I also want to have a business that makes me feel good, because that's as much of a payment. And it does feel like that sounds like foo-foo stuff. Oh yeah, sure, you just say that, but there's payoff for feeling good. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
that's a selfish thing, if I'm honest.
yeah, and I think you know, you remember Grameen Bank?
I feel like I should.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
Kerala Grameen Bank, and I forget, I'm looking, it was started by I think it was started by the government of India, but
Okay.
essentially it was microfinancing for the third world country, and it
Okay.
was being
Yep.
able to give back and to be able to have somebody who couldn't necessarily afford to go into like a general bank. And I mean, lots of people today who are living in middle class maybe necessarily can't go out and get a loan, right? So what
Right.
Grameen Banking did was that it supported microfinancing to villagers to be able to start businesses. So and they made a killing with the Grameen banking system. And but that's focusing, what you're talking about is focusing on that triple bottom line, right?
Right.
And focusing on that these type of companies that do good and give back can be wildly successful.
Yeah. And it just feels good. I mean, there's some real, money is important, but
Yeah.
lowering your stress levels, having lower cortisol levels in your
Yes.
system,
Yeah.
feeling that you're doing the right thing for people,
Yeah.
there's uh, just as important. And I think that's maybe a maturity thing, because I think back in my 30s, I probably would have thought, oh, yeah, just got to make as much money as possible.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's not even just immaturity, and like this goes back to just everything about like, what we'll eventually talk about in the second podcast with like the universe and whatever, but it also has a lot to do with um what we're fed as
mm,
children and the information that gets fed to us, versus like Gen Zs versus millennials and then boomers. Like everybody was like boomers, millennials, like you go to school, you graduate, you look for a job. Everyone after the millennials are like, you go to school, you become an entrepreneur. There was a different wave, right? So
right.
it's what's the information that you were fed. It's not, it really doesn't, in my humble opinion, boil down to like immaturity. It's societal as well. in many
Yep.
cases, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's multiple things that we get paid out of this life, and
Yeah.
some of it's money, some of it is the good that
Yeah.
you put out there. It
Yeah.
pays you back. And I'm right now, like I'm unashamedly truthful when it comes to what would you love to be doing the most, right? That
Yeah.
would be a question that maybe a podcast might end at and I would say the thing that I would love to do the most is swim in the pool with my 8-year-old son.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I'm like, oh, you don't want to be helping businesses succeed and pay. No. If I'm honest, if I could think of one thing that I'd love to be doing right now,
Yeah.
is be swimming in our pool and throwing balls and throwing him around the pool. That's what I want to be doing, and the way I do that is by helping businesses be successful, because that allows me to build a business with. I've got a really great crew. We got 20 staff members. And they do a lot of really good work, and that allows me to just decide, you know what, hey, let's go down into the pool in the middle of the day. I'm not having to be in an office somewhere.
Yeah.
I work, we all work remotely, so this office is in my house,
Yeah.
and that's the life I want to build, and the only way I do that is by building a team of really good people, and really good people will only work for a company that does good things.
Yeah.
I don't want to build a company with really bad people in it, because I would not be swimming in the pool as much as I possibly can with my son.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really important to me. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I love
and
that.
I think that's important to most of our clients. That's what they want to be doing. They
Yeah.
want to be spending time with their family and friends. They want to be doing the things that mean a lot to them. And oftentimes it's an unusual person that the thing that they want to do is run a business.
Yeah.
Most
No,
people are
everything that
doing
we
that.
do is really translating to freedom.
Correct.
Yeah.
And running a bit like and owning your own business well, I think, is the ultimate freedom that we can give ourselves in this modern day.
Yeah. 100%. Oh my gosh, you and I can go on for hours. I'm actually really excited about our next podcast because I think that that one is going to be a really juicy one. But
Right.
I do wanna conclude,
Yep.
and ask you my, the rapid questions and whatever comes to
Sure.
mind. And thank you so much for all of this like detail and I mean it's super insightful in terms of just reflecting as a business owner and really creating that empowerment as to who they really are going to work for. And like it goes back to
Right.
what I said, like knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes, and knowing the right questions to ask. So
Correct.
this has been
Yep.
so helpful. But before we let you go, here are 3 questions. What's one belief you had about business early on that you've completely changed your mind about?
I think I used to whilst this is still an important concept, I think my organization of the priorities in my day would be hustle. I used to think hustle was the most important thing. I had
Equals
to hustle and
success.
work hard and get out there and blah 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 blah. I really truly believe now is having a real clear, number one is a clear idea of what I want to accomplish. Number two is that am I doing it the right way? And then I add hustle to that, and that
Yeah.
is my magic sauce. So hustle used to be number one. It's now number three. And
Yeah.
my number two and my number three is now my number one and my number two. So I used to think hustle was the magic sauce, and honestly, treating people well, having a clear idea of what you want to accomplish, and then with a little bit of hustle behind it.
Yeah.
I that is how it's changed.
Yeah. Amazing. When you think about legacy, which you briefly talked about, not revenue, not scale, what do you hope people remember you for?
I hope people would feel that Andy Seeley helped them have a better life.
Yeah.
Sounds like I almost feel uncomfortable when I say that, but I love the thought of people thinking, you know what, my life was better off because we engaged with Creatively Disruptive, and that team they did a really good thing, and the leadership of that company did things right.
Yeah.
That would be a legacy that I'd be quite proud of.
I love it. I love it. I mean, super. And you know what? It's like it almost feels. You're all right. Sometimes when you say these type of things, it feels uncomfortable. But I think working through that process of knowing the lives that you have already changed makes that statement more accurate the more you think of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self sitting at the starting line of the very first business that you launched?
I would say, um, I would probably say, give yourself, like, don't be so, like, because I would probably say back in the day, I was very much more intense. My wife would probably say that at times not nice to be
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
because I was very intensely wanting to do something. A
Yeah.
lot of that came from not really knowing what it was. So to slow down, like that hustle was more important than the actual knowing.
Yeah.
And to slow down, that it will come, don't give up, and know what you want. Because I don't think I knew what I wanted. There was a period of time where we were talking about having kids, and this is maybe probably should be in the second episode,
Yeah.
but there was a time when we were talking about, and I was kept saying, "Oh, we can't just do that right now. We can't do that right now. We can't do that right now." To the point where we only ended up having one kid, and
Yeah.
we wanted to have 3 or 4, but we
Wow.
couldn't.
Yeah.
So, um, slowing down, understanding what truly is important, and not giving up.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be done tomorrow. It's about continuously turning up every day and doing the right things, not doing many things as much as possible and stressing out about it.
Yeah. I love that.
Um, I think a lot of people stress out way too much and don't just methodically every day show up, because showing up every day doesn't necessarily mean working your ass off. It
Yeah.
means every day it's consistency,
Yeah.
right?
I
They
agree.
say if you improve 1% a day, that's 360% in a year.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
lot,
that's a lot.
right?
Even
So,
businesses don't even like 300% X in a year.
right. But
Yeah.
people are constantly trying to double every
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yes, so that's probably what I'd say is just calm down, relax, show up every day,
Yeah.
and know what you want.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Andy, this has been super great, super insightful. Truly appreciate your time, and I can't wait for next time.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah. Thank you again. We'll leave
Thank
all
you.
of your contact information below just for everybody on the call, so that you can get in touch with Andy. So we'll put his LinkedIn and all his other social channels and all the company connects so that you guys can learn more about it. Please feel free to check it out. And
And just to say, the best way to contact us is to go to creativelydisruptive.com or Ashworth Strategy, not strategies, strategy.com, and reach out to the team through there, because there's a good chance that I'll be trying to swim in the pool with my little boy.
amazing. I love it. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.